like to welcome everybody to the January 11th Village Board meeting. At this time, I'd like to ask everybody, please stand for the pledge, and also remain standing for a moment of silence for our armed forces serving throughout the world. And it tells me I forgot to take my meds.
You say that every minute.
I know, I forget every meeting. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, tonight is our mid-fiscal year reorganization. The oath of office, we all signed the oath of office, so we're not going to really have a ceremony. We did sign the book, and that's considered we've taken the oath. So, like I said, it's a reorganization mid-year, fiscal mid-year. So Desiree, could you please read the reorganization?
Certainly. You need to note that Mayor Quinn will be appointing Timothy Egan as his deputy mayor. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Oh, there's no salary for deputy mayor, just so you know. That's not a salaried or paid position. The board, need a motion and a second to make the following board liaison and appointments. A liaison to the town board will be Mayor Queenan and trustee Egan. Liaison to the planning board would be trustee Egan and Flood. Liaison to the zoning board would be trustee Kraus and Mikolajczyk. Liaison to the fire department would be trustee Egan and Mikolajczyk. Liaison to the water sewer department would be Mayor Queenan and trustee Mikolajczyk. Liaison to the building department would be Mayor Queenan and trustee Kraus. Liaison to the highway department is trustees Flood and Mikolajczyk. Employee liaisons is Mayor Queenan and trustee Flood. Insurance liaisons is trustee Flood and trustee Kraus. And grant writing and research is trustee Flood and Egan. That's
Could
it.
I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
The next is to make the following appointments. Appeals officer for Foyles, Mayor Queenan. Village clerk, treasurer, registrar, Desiree Potvin. And procurement officer, Mayor Queenan.
Motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We need to adopt your meeting dates and meeting public comment procedures as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
You need to make a motion and a second to adopt your procurement policy.
Could I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And we need a motion and a second to approve the wording of the official undertaking.
Could I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And that's it.
Thank you. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, we can move along to minutes. Could I have a motion to accept the minutes from our meeting held December 14th, 2017?
Make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to accept the minutes from our meeting held December 28, 2017.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Desiree, could you please read abstract 15?
Abstract 15 contains voucher 171338 through 171408 and totals $113,305.97.
Thank you. Motion to approve abstract 15.
Make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We were notified on December 15, 2017, that the DNA Fine Foods, doing business as the Black Forest Mill, located at 1716 Route 32, Highland Mills, is applying for a liquor license from the New York State Liquor Authority. A request was made to the police department to determine if there is any reason why the village should object to this application being approved, and they stated there have been no significant incidents that would prohibit the application. So I'm going to ask Clerk Potvin to send a letter to the State Liquor Authority indicating that the village board has no objection. Got it?
Will do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Also, we received a memo from Gary Thomasberger, who is the department head of our building department, informing us that the Assistant Building Inspector, John Han, has successfully completed his training to become a New York State Certified Code Enforcement Officer. John also passed his civil service exam, scoring a perfect score of 100. Please join me in recognizing John's achievements.
Do you want to clap or anything?
I think so.
Yeah, you should clap.
100, 100's a great, you don't always score 100 on those tests. They're sometimes difficult, so that's
I
pretty
I
good.
just want to add on this is Gary was very high on John when he was hired, and we were, at least I was in the board, and the rest of the board was, and John has fulfilled all the expectations, and really is a great addition.
I agree, totally.
And when Neil says hi, we're from the 60s, 70s.
Yeah,
We
I
just
caught
really
my
mean that we're very much in favor of John.
Oh,
So
see, I didn't get that because I wasn't born then.
That's because you're too young.
And I didn't inhale, so don't worry.
And
all
my head
good.
popped up at that one. I was like, huh?
But anyway, congratulations to John. He's doing a great job, by the way.
yeah,
Motion to approve a request by Vincent Torresi to use the meeting room on January 27, 2018, from 1 to 4 p.m. for a birthday party.
27th or 28th?
I have 27, but I could be wrong. I have made a mistake last year once.
I'll make that motion once it's corrected.
I'll second it.
Why do you think it's going to be corrected?
Just have a feeling.
It says January 27th on the date of event,
Yeah, it says January 27th on the date of event. Is that what it is?
1 to 4
27th?
p.m.
All right.
So there was no correction.
I stand corrected.
So who was making the motion?
Tom did.
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve Fire Department equipment request 2018-01 totaling approximately $834 for flares and caution tape?
Make the motion.
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Could I have a motion to approve equipment request 2018-2 totaling approximately $649 to purchase an iPad for engine 521?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Just take a look at it,
Did I take a look at what? The
at the
iPad?
specs? Yeah,
Yeah, it's a standard iPad.
Okay.
It's used as an MDT.
all right. So you would know. No more comment.
Okay, thank you.
We have them in all the other trims.
All in favor?
Aye.
Old business, authorize the mayor, which is me, to sign a contract renewal with Partners in Safety. So can I have a motion to authorize me to sign the contract?
Make that motion.
second,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Return snow and ice bond. The last time we discussed this back in October, we left it that the building department would send a letter to the HOA that we require for the Village of Woodbury to return the snow and ice bond. Would we require a letter from Mr. Kaufman acknowledging that the funds should be returned to Mr. Brodsky? A written plan from the HOA explaining how they plan to deal with and continue maintenance of the roads, including a copy of the snow plowing road maintenance agreement contract, and proof of recent financial statements from the HOA showing they have financial ability to maintain the roads. All these requirements have been satisfied. So with that, I'm going to ask for a motion to authorize the return of the snow and ice bond for Woodbury Junction Phase 2A and 3A.
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Do we know if those financial statements are correct? In other words, how do we know that they're not just, like, I can go on Quicken or something and create something?
I agree with that would be fraudulent then.
Okay,
But I mean,
And
the
that'll-
the answer to your question is no. We don't know.
Maybe
mean-
we have standing to determine accuracy of those statements, do we?
I don't know, we asked for a financial statement. The HOA gave us a financial statement. It was signed by, I believe, the president of the HOA. So,
Thank you, Mike.
Actually, I don't know that it was signed, although it's on the letterhead of a CPA firm. It's from March of 2017, so I wouldn't exactly call that a current financial statement. And a little concerned that they're showing expenses that far exceed their assets. So, I'm a little bit leery about these being financial statements that would show their ability to
Do we have the
financially
ability,
cover this.
sorry, buddy, for interrupting. We have the ability to table it for like 2 more weeks until next meeting?
yeah, you have the ability to do that, yes.
Just wondering if we can get some answers and make Buddy feel
So
more
it's from March
comfortable.
2017, and you feel that, and I hear you, and you feel that is not really a recent, financial statement, which is obvious because it's almost a year ago.
That's
Well, if they only do them annually, do they do them in
Just
March?
my
I don't know.
That I don't know, I can't answer that. March would be, I don't think they would do it in March. March,
I don't know when they do their annual meeting.
yeah, but, I don't know.
Depends what their fiscal year is.
Right, that's what I'm asking, that's what I'm
Yeah.
asking. Because if they're fiscal, well, you can't do
Okay.
that from the seat.
Yeah. So I tell you what, rather than get into a discussion about this now, why don't we table it to our next meeting, and we'll request that we get a more recent financial statement? Does that pleasure the board?
Or perhaps ascertain if this is the most recent financial statement.
Well, that's fine. That's why we'll put it off for 2 weeks.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, we'll table that. Okay, motion to authorize me to sign a contract of assignment.
Consent. Consent of assignment?
What did I say?
Contract.
I'm sorry. To sign a consent to assignment and a estoppel certificate. This document allows APC Tower to transfer all rights and interest in a land lease agreement with the Village of Woodbury to Verizon.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next up, motion to authorize me to sign a change order number 1 for the Smith Clove Road ADA improvements. This change order is the result of existing field conditions require different quantities of unit price items that those estimated prior to the beginning of work, resulting in a $5,291 benefit to the village.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, new business. We're going to have a discussion here on, I think it's Mobile Light Cell Tower. They're seeking to build one small cell site within the Village of Woodbury's right-of-way. They're seeking to attach its equipment to an existing 45-foot Orange and Rockland wooden utility pole located at the corner of Turner Road and Corporate Drive. Is somebody here from that? Please come up to the mic, identify yourself.
My name is Paul Costa. I'm the permanent manager for Mobility Mobile. Can I just grab that?
How do you pronounce it, mobility?
Mobility, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know it.
Oh, it's mobility,
I thought it was
TIA.
Bud Light.
TIA. Interesting.
So, as you mentioned, company is Mobility. We're a wireless infrastructure company, and we build networks for carriers to access to boost capacity and increase speed for their customers. We do this through a variety of ways, to the large towers that's everyone's accustomed to, wireless systems, indoor DAS systems. But right now, we're focusing on small cell sites, and we're doing this for Sprint. And kind of the packet describes some of the information about what we're doing. So the reason we're building small cells is carriers really can't meet their current data demand that their services are built for. So what they are looking to do is densify their network through the use of these small cell sites. And what it does is offloads that data demand to an existing tower that can handle the data demand. Essentially, the way it works is you have everyone in a supermarket goes to check out at the same time. There's only 2 lines. It's crowded. You open up another checking lane, and everyone gets out fast. And that's what these small cell sites do. They take the users that are there from one site and offload them to an existing tower. And it's just for data, and it helps improve the capacity of the area. It's essentially augmenting the current cell tower there. And we have one site proposed right now, or just one site only, in the village. It's on the Turner Road and Corporate Drive. It's attached to an existing Orange and Rockland pole with a street light. What we would do is attach, it would have, let's see from here, the antenna would go on top, extending the pole to 48 feet. All the equipment would be contained inside a shroud here. It's 2 feet by 2 feet by 9 inches. So it's really compact. Oh, sorry. It would be 2 feet 9 inches. The box, all the equipment would be contained inside, and below that would be an AC cutoff and the meter for Orange and Rockland to read. And we would pull power from overhead. There's no trenching. We're not digging up the street. The construction is usually about 2 days max for these things. And the goal of this site is to boost the capacity of the area and extending into Woodbury Commons.
So I'm under the impression this is really geared for the traffic in Woodbury Common, the data traffic.
Yeah, that area. Yeah, there's a propagation map in the packet that shows kind of.
Is there any reason why it wasn't put into Woodbury Common rather than the pole here on what is it, Corporate Drive?
Corporate and Turner.
I mean, Sprint may be looking at that as an alternative site as well. Depending on how the mall is configured and what systems they have in there, you can't always get the outside areas.
This equipment container, how far is that off the ground?
That's based on Orange and Rockland specs, so that's about 17 feet off the ground.
Okay, so
Yeah, you're not going to climb up to it and get it or anything. And we have it, it's locked as well.
okay. The only thing that concerns me is the meter seems to be level where somebody could come along and tamper with it, but that's Orange and Rockland's problem,
Yeah, it's at 9 feet, and that's Orange and Rockland specs.
That
Because
is at
their
9
guys have to
feet?
read it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I don't know if you could comment on this, but a while back, within the last year, I saw a report on the news, I think it was CBS, about something similar to this in Long Island, some town. They were putting them in, and they were getting a lot of pushback from the residents. I don't know if you could comment on that or know anything about it, but
I briefly heard some of those. I think it was, I'm not 100% sure of what was going on. I mean, it's the same technology. I think some of the issues there was they installed them without really any input from the community.
yes, that was definitely one of them. I don't know how that, what was the result of that, but I was wondering if you knew.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what the result is of that one. But, yeah. And what spurred this meeting was we actually went through the planning board, through their wireless process and special use permit, and they had asked us to reach out to the board to let you know about the project.
Can we all ask questions?
Yeah.
What's the area of effectiveness? In other words, is it just Woodbury Commons, or does it go from, I'll give you an example, as far south as maybe the Route 6, and then as far north as maybe, I don't know, the end of our end of our village.
No, yeah, it's much smaller than that. It's,
Barely covers.
So
part.
somebody like me who has Sprint, who gets terrible service on top of the mountain, wouldn't be improved by this.
no, but when you go to Woodbury Commons, you'll get better.
We don't go there, it's too
Yeah.
crowded.
If you go
Well-
to the back parking lot at the Woodbury.
Well, it has a ripple effect throughout kind of the network, so it offloads that data.
Oh, you
allowing-
lost me after no.
No.
Well, it's gonna offload the demand.
Right.
Yeah, so it does
Which opens up new
improve.
demand on
Yeah, it allows for
The
calls to
allows
be
for
better.
when you were in front of the planning board, I know this is the first permit that you're seeking, or the first installation. Do you know of any other small cell sites that are
Within the village?
within the village at this time?
No, this is the
first.
only one
And
that we
and if
have.
I recall, at the planning board meeting, it seemed to be the opinion of their consultant too, that these are gonna become more and more prevalent, and within a short period of time, we could probably expect to see several more of these sites popping up throughout the village
I mean,
at a
yes.
very rapid pace.
Yes and no. I mean, the technology, this is what carriers are using to densify their network. The proliferation of them, they're used in targeted areas and used for, they're not gonna be just along kind of a road where 2 or 3 residential houses are. They place them in areas where there's, Woodbury Commons or shopping centers, where you have large numbers of users in the same spot in the same amount of time. As far as, them going all over the place, I don't know what other carriers' demands are or needs are, but Sprint right now just has this one site that they feel would.
So could you say
Augment.
that, sorry, buddy, because it sounds like you'll take care of the capacity down there and the bottleneck that's causing maybe other Sprint users, probably should see a better, maybe better service,
Potentially, yeah.
Right,
That's the goal of
potentially.
the site, yeah.
right?
And just to follow up on Buddy's
Good, yeah.
question about, more, when you talked about, when you were doing your presentation, you mentioned, and you caught yourself, and kind of backed up, you said, this is the only one for now.
Oh, yeah,
And
it
you
is.
kind of like hesitated, and so that kind of leads me to believe this may be the first of what could be several that could come into Woodbury.
I mean, I will state, this is the site that's for Woodbury right now. Again, I said now, but, 3 years down the line, or they could need more capacity, and we'd go through the same process again.
Well, I recall at the planning board meeting, and I attended, I think there were 2 presentations or 2 consecutive meetings where you guys appeared at the planning board meeting, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember both of those meetings, and I believe trustee Kraus was here at both of those as well, right, Neil?
Yes.
Yeah. The question was asked specifically, is this going to be the first of many? And I believe it was somebody else that answered it maybe a little bit better than you did tonight, that there really isn't a reason in other areas to put this in. This is for a targeted purpose in a specific area, and that you're not going to see these single node cell antennas on every telephone pole down Route 32 throughout the village. It just doesn't make any sense to do that. And
Yeah, that
that
was
made
my-
sense to me based on my understanding of the technology.
Yeah, and
So
that's
this is for a particular purpose, and the answer to the question, I believe back then, was no, this is the only one that's proposed right now. You have no others in the works, and
No, I mean, yeah, we have
I
a
think
build
that's
out
what Neil
to,
was looking for, because
Yeah.
your answer earlier was a little bit misleading and
Apologize.
left the window open for, some interpretation, but I think that's the
Yeah.
concern that some board members and some members of the public may have, that are we gonna start seeing these cell nodes throughout the village in place of, and that was one of the questions that was asked at the planning board meeting, are we gonna see these instead of a single tower? Are we gonna see these popping up on every telephone pole? And the answer was no.
no, yeah, these
And that makes
augment
sense,
that, yeah. And again, yeah, you said it correctly, and they said it then. It's not, these are targeted
Right.
strategically to boost the capacity of the macro sites.
Okay, what can we do with this? Let's say Verizon comes along and they want to put something on that pole. Is this designed where you could add more of these small cell sites on that pole?
I think Orange and Rockland would only allow us to put one.
All right, my next
Site on
follow-up
it.
question to that is,
Sure.
is Orange and Rockland getting a fee to have that on their pole?
I think there was an agreement, an IOU agreement with them.
It's interesting.
I think both of those questions came up at the planning board meeting, too.
Well.
Rightfully so.
Okay, we'll just mull this over a little bit, and we'll get back to you on this,
Sure.
okay?
Yeah.
And we'll send a letter to the planning board, based on, our findings. We just want to look into it a little more and, find out exactly what O&R is benefiting out of this, and there's a few other things we want to figure out,
Sure.
some logistics that, so, give us a couple of weeks,
Sure.
all right?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Higgins, are you here for Mr. Schlesinger on the Scunny Monk Road lights also?
Yes.
So for-
No, just for the.
Just for Sequoia Trail
Sequoia Trail and the sewer.
and the sewer, not for his other issue?
I wasn't aware there was another.
Okay. I thought he was going to be here, so that's all.
All right, thank you so much. We'll be in touch. Okay, next up, we had a request was received from Victor Schlesinger in September, excuse me, to install additional street lighting on Scunny Monk. Orange and Rockland was contacted, and they basically came up with, if we were gonna put lights there, it would be 4 lights, the cost of $4,522, with an annual fee or electric bill of about $500 approximately. It was asked that he get majority of the residents up there to agree to this, because all of a sudden now there'd be 4 new lights up there, and, not everybody loves lighting, so. There were 15 homes up there?
Yeah, there were 15 lots.
Okay. I think you only got about 5 people to respond, and one of them was negative. They didn't want the lights, so. I think at this juncture, and he's not here tonight, so I'm not inclined to move on this. I mean, this has been like that forever, and all of a sudden now, he feels we need, more streetlights, and some of the residents up there are not happy with the additional streetlights. So I don't think it's something we should move on right away. However, I want to say, it's really not a dead issue. It's just something I think would like to talk to more people up there and really get a feel for how people feel, because I don't like to be, shoving things down people's throats. I like people to buy into these things. So hopefully, we'll take another look at it, and maybe there'll be a compromise. We'll only put up 2 lights or something. I'm really not sure, but, right now, I don't feel I want to move in this, so I don't know what anybody else's opinion is tonight.
Well, Mike, I agree. What we asked was for a majority. Desiree went out and actually provided Mr. Schlesinger with a list of the 15 residences in that area. And thank you, Des. Probably Mr. Schlesinger should be thanking you for that. He was only able to, he only went out and got 5. One of those was negative. They didn't want the lights. And a 4th one, it was illegible and questionable whether it was even somebody in the area and stuff like that. And I think it shows Mr. Schlesinger's interest in this and the fact that he's not here again tonight. So I don't see we go any further unless he actually comes and would show us the respect to come and do his own presentation and go out and speak to the people in that area and get their signatures. The last time we did this, I think it was the entire neighborhood came, and they had a petition signed by every homeowner in the area where we put the, where they were asking for lights.
I'd like to see at least a majority of the 15 homes respond one way or another. Only a third of them responded,
We're
and
asking
only
for
20% of that third said no, the other said yes, but that's only, it's only 5 out of 15 total. That's just not enough.
Well, that's a good point, because obviously the other residents didn't care one way or another, or they were
Maybe
against
not.
it. Yeah,
Maybe he got responses and didn't provide them. He's not here to
that's
ask.
true. But anyway, so
Or
right
they
now,
weren't
Well,
contacted.
that's a good point, because Mr. Schlesinger sent me all of the responses, except for the negative one, who sent it directly to me. So I don't know if he
don't know.
received negatives from the other ones and just didn't send them. I don't
It's not
know.
a scientific, objective, legal process, it's just,
Well, we don't even know if all the residents were contacted, do we?
that's my
Correct.
point. Or if they were, like I said, we were given all of the responses, only the ones that were favorable. So,
all right, so I
not
think,
enough information.
right, I agree with that. So we'll move on. Okay, next up, we have a request received from David Higgins, engineer from Lang and Tully, representing Victor Schlesinger, to determine the feasibility of connecting property located on Sequoia Trail, SBL 204-1-2, to the existing sewer system that runs there. Mr. Schlesinger is seeking to purchase this lot and subdivide it into 2 new single-family residential lots. You're up. Hit the button.
Got it, thank you. Good evening, David Higgins from Lang Tully Engineering and Surveying. We are working with Victor Schlesinger, who is interested in purchasing a portion of the property, which is located at the north end of, north side of Scunny Road and on the west side of Sequoia Trail. And what we're looking to do basically is, before making an application to the planning board, is to find out if the village board would consider allowing access to the sewer to a portion of that property. What we're looking to do, and it's shown on the map that is here before you that also has been submitted, basically, we're looking to subdivide off 2 residential lots, each 3 acres in size, which is conforming with the zoning requirements, which would basically take the entire frontage along Sequoia Trail, and essentially, I think the way we look at it is essentially finish the development of the undeveloped land along Sequoia Trail. With the remaining land that we would have on that property, there'd be 88 acres for what we think we call Lot 1, which is also on the north side of Scunny Road, and the remaining 16 acres of land roughly, which is on the south side of Scunny Road, and essentially is unattached to the property.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So, there are sewer manholes located along Sequoia Trail. The sewer is assumed to run southerly along Sequoia Trail, where it intersects with a manhole on Scunny Road, and then appears to go in a easterly direction down Scunny Road. So what we're looking to do is see if we could connect sewer laterals to each of those 2 houses, proposed houses, into that sewer main, and to find out, A, does the village have, the sewer system have the capacity to allow that connection? And is the village board, interested in us, in allowing us to connect either as an expansion of the district, or as an outside user to that sewer district?
Well, first of all, these 2 lots belong to a much bigger lot,
Yes.
and they haven't been subdivided from that as of yet.
No, we would need to subdivide, make an application to the planning board for subdivision, and the way we have it shown there is 4 lots, 2 lots being residential with connections to the sewer line, and then Lot 1, which I think was 88 acres on the north side, not for residential use at this time. And
Including
then,
the 2 lots you're talking about.
I'm sorry?
That's including the 2 lots you're talking about.
4 lots total, yes, with 2 being residential and 2 not for residential use at this time.
And I just have a question, is, again, you use that not at this time?
Correct.
So being proposed 2 lots, but if you take those 2 lots out, this is, the area here and the map is 105.4 plus or minus acres.
Yes,
This does leave this leaves approximately 100 acres,
yes.
which could accommodate an additional 30-some homes, because this is zoned as 3-acre zoning.
That would only be
So,
if. oh, yeah, I'm
so
sorry.
if we agree possibly to extend the sewer to 2, that could possibly lead in the future to having an additional 30 going into our, requested to go into our capacity, and for extensions like that. I also have a question in the general notes on the map. Number 4, I believe it is. It says proposed lots lots 1 and 2 will be served by proposed connection to the existing Village of Woodbury water supply system and sanitary sewer main located along Sequoia Trail. The property is not currently.
That area is supplied to by a water system out there owned by either, who knows, either Ziggy Brock or the Village of Kyrus Trail.
But here, I'm just saying on the note, it just says connected to the existing Village of Woodbury water supply
Well,
system.
we don't have a water supply out there, so.
I think I can clarify a couple of things. With regards to the water supply, when we prepared the map, we saw the hydrant, and I think we made an incorrect assumption that it was the village's
Right.
water supply system. We have since found out that, as the mayor indicated, it's not the village water supply system, so what we would wind up doing is putting drilled wells on those 2 lots. The remainder of the property would only be subject to that level of development if this, if we were to return to the village to ask for a connection. And right now, that's not contemplated. We are only looking to try to get development for the 2 lots on Sequoia Trail. That's the only property that we're looking to connect into the sewer. I do know that the soils on a part of that property, some of it's wetlands on that, on the 105 acres. Some of the soils are marginal. So the acreage that's along Sequoia Trail is just the area that we're looking to tie in 2 houses on land that already has frontage in an already generally developed residential area. And it essentially, as I had mentioned, and the way I'm looking at it is it essentially finishes off Sequoia Trail with the remaining undeveloped land along it with 2 lots. And we're not asking for anything beyond that.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. If these are 3-acre lots, why wouldn't he put a septic in? I mean, that'd be an option.
Well, as I mentioned, soils are in that area marginal. I mean, we would have to do perk tests and deep tests, and, he'd have to install septic systems, and then there's long-term, ownership of the septic, and if you can tie into the sewer, certainly it's preferred.
No, I understand that. How far along is he in negotiating with the landowner to subdivide the property?
Well, we haven't made any formal application or appearance before the planning board.
Well, I'm talking about the person who owns the land.
That I don't know. I haven't been privy to negotiations, if any have happened. I just know that he's told me he's looking to just buy the 6 acres. Obviously, to do that, it'd have to be subdivided.
Mr. Schlesinger's only looking to purchase the 2 3-acre lots, not the entire parcel.
That's been my understanding, yeah, that's what I've been told.
Okay. And now the entire parcel is owned, it's owned by an LLC.
Yes, I
And
believe so.
Mr. Schlesinger, I've noticed on some of his letterhead, he's also part of an LLC, whether as an individual or a partner. And I do believe as, I think the law was passed in last year, 2017, where the partners and stuff have to be listed on an LLC when there's transactions. I believe that was the state law that was passed. I don't think we don't have that information.
Yeah, I think we haven't, I don't believe we've made a formal petition or a formal application to the board yet. I think this was on for an informal discussion to generally get a sense of whether, A, connecting to the sewer is feasible from a capacity standpoint, and 2, whether or not the village would be inclined to grant a connection. We haven't made formal applications, so, I don't think you'd have any listings of LLCs yet and partners, but if that's a requirement of the village, certainly that will be provided.
I believe that's a requirement of New York State now. I think that was,
Trustee Kraus, right now, Mr. Schlesinger has posted a $10,000 escrow for if this application were to move forward and you incur any consultant costs. But like Mr. Higgins said, right now, it's just a preliminary discussion with you to see if you're even interested in going to that next step. And if you say no, then that money would be returned to Mr. Schlesinger because it wouldn't be needed. If you say yes, then your water sewer department and your engineer and attorney would get involved, and then those costs would be paid for by Mr. Schlesinger in the escrow, and that's probably when that LLC information would be put out there on the actual formal petition to extend the sewer system.
okay, thank you.
But would the current owner have to apply for a subdivision to separate these 3-acre lots from the parcel before he could sell it to Mr. Schlesinger?
He would have to give permission for Mr. Schlesinger to come before the planning board. He would have to send a letter that, yeah, he's aware of this and he's willing to subdivide the property. I don't know if that's been done, but, I mean, I'm a little,
I'd be a lot more comfortable even considering it if I knew he was only purchasing and that the owner was willing to subdivide only these 2 parcels. And he was only gonna purchase these 2 parcels for development.
well, at this juncture, I'm a little leery about this because I feel there's a lot of unanswered questions. Not that I would be against it, but right now I feel, you're asking us to make a decision blind in reality that we don't know. I mean, that's a 130-acre parcel there. And I know you're in front of me talking about 6 acres, 2 lots. But, I've seen these things change as time goes on. So I'm a little leery about committing to anything without being, having a more definitive idea of exactly what we're committing to. So that's my position. I don't know how the rest of the trustees feel, but.
No, I agree.
Mike, I feel the same way, and with the information we got on the water supply, if that could be corrected on the map, just so it's not there, but there's I think a lot of unanswered questions right now.
That's a big piece of property.
Well, certainly I can correct the map, and I'd happily try to get whatever information the board is looking for.
I mean, for example, if I was buying this land and I wanted to develop 2 residential properties and I had 3 acres on each one, I mean, I'd be picking land that I know would pass a perk test. So I would have either option open to me. Either I could hook up to municipal sewer or I could put a septic system in. So it wouldn't really incumbent me regardless which way I went. But I mean, I agree, I would prefer to hook up to a municipal system. But, I think there's other options here, and I just feel like, again, that we're in the dark here about a lot of issues.
Right. Certainly, I think, my client's desire was to try to get feedback from the board so that if he moves forward with the work that's going to be needed for the subdivision, he knows as a fallback position, he could tie into the sewer with the 2 lots. We haven't had any, and I've made clear to him that the map as prepared is just for the 2 lots, and I think that's understood. I understand the board's concern about the possible creep or how that might expand into the remaining land. I do understand that. From my understanding of it, if we were able to get approval to either get outside user agreements for just those 6 acres, or as an expansion
When you
of the
say
district.
outside user agreements with who?
Well, with the village as a
Right.
district, outside the district
Okay.
user, if that's how the board wanted to, was willing to
Well,
proceed.
we need to be very protective of our sewage capacity because right now, there's really no more available right now. There are no plans with the county to expand the plant. I mean, they talk about it, but, that's years out, really. And, we have a big development going up in Central Valley, so it's not like we have an infinite supply of sewage capacity. So we have to be protective of it.
Right, and again, we were requesting just 1,100 gallons a day for the 2
No,
hours.
I understand that, but, I mean, we're looking at, I'm looking at this now, I see 100, excuse me, I see 130 acres. And, if we commit to something, all of a sudden, next thing we know, it balloons into something that
Right.
we weren't told, so,
Right.
you know.
I mean, before I guess this board maybe makes a decision, then, in addition to me getting this information, I think one of the things that would be helpful would be to at least find out an answer, and I understand the board's concern, and I think that answer would be that if the board agrees to grant sewer use to two residential lots out of the property out of 6 acres, if that basically closes the door to the remainder of the land. If it were to do that, I guess, I get the question, you don't have to answer it tonight, I guess, but the question is, would the board be comfortable with granting the approval for those 2 lots? Obviously, if it doesn't close the door to the remainder of the land, I understand this board's concern, and I would agree that without capacity, you couldn't grant approval for 30 or 40 more lots out of the back of the property unless the capacity's there and you feel like you want to do it. But I think that's the question, and I don't know if that's something that the village attorney needs to weigh in on, or so that the board maybe gets comfortable with the fact that 2 lots is it, and that's, that it's essentially a done deal at 2 lots.
Well, we would consult our attorneys anyway before we would give a final decision on this, but right now, I don't think we're in a position to make a decision on this.
Okay. I can certainly resubmit the maps. I can ask Mr. Schlesinger, I think, to provide additional information, maybe some sort of a written statement of what what his full intentions are on the property. Would we come back to another meeting to discuss this, to have a resolution on it? Is it, you need a month or 2 months, or how do you want to proceed?
Well, we'd need definitely at least a month, maybe 2 months, but, I mean, the fact that the 3A, I mean, he could proceed with the planning board because he does have the option, but the first thing I would do, obviously, I know he wants to do his due diligence. Well, maybe he should go out there and do a perk test and see if that's an option. And this way, he's got a fallback position no matter what.
Okay, so I'll take this back to Mr. Schlesinger. We may be, conducting some soils testing out there.
Right.
It may not be for a little while, ground's probably still frozen.
Robbie?
But then I guess if he wants, we'll resubmit and come back to the board.
Okay,
Okay?
okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you for your time.
I do have a question for the board because a couple of things went out of order. Mr. Schlesinger did post the escrow for the consultant fees. Since we're asking him to come back with more information, should we return that $10,000 to him and then get it in the future if necessary, or should we continue to hold on to that as
Well,
I mean,
I
it's,
think we should hold on to it, but if Mr. Schlesinger wants it back, I have no problem returning the money.
okay, so Mr. Higgins, can you just check with that? And if he does want it back, I just need a letter from him requesting that it be returned.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep, okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you.
We'll give Mr. Higgins the opportunity to clear out before we move on to the next item. Not that we're throwing you out. You could stay for the rest of the meeting if you like, I mean. Okay, next up is scheduled public hearing. We need to schedule public hearing for the Water Quality Protection Overlay District. So, we're going to be looking at February 22nd.
Yes.
So Desiree, could you please read the resolution?
Whereas the Village of Woodbury Board of Trustees wishes to set a time and place for a public hearing to consider a proposed local law that would establish a water quality protection overlay district. And whereas the village board hereby determines that it should be the lead agency with respect to the review of the proposed local law under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and the regulations implementing SECRA in 6 NYCRR Part 617, since there are no other agencies that have the authority to approve the project. And whereas the village board hereby preliminary classifies the action as a type 1 action under SECRA. Now therefore hereby be it resolved that the public hearing shall be held by the village board in order to receive comments and suggestions regarding the proposed local law and to review any potential adverse environmental impacts of the proposed local law on February 22nd, 2018 at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall located at 511 Route 32, Highland Mills, New York, and be it further resolved that the office of the village clerk is authorized and directed to cause public notice of said hearing to be given to as provided by law. And be it further resolved that the office of the village clerk is authorized and directed to cause notice of said public hearing to be given to the public and municipal agencies and officials as provided by law, including to the agencies identified in Section 7-706 of the village law and to the village planning board pursuant to the village zoning code. And be it further resolved that the office of the village clerk is hereby authorized and directed to circulate a notice of intent to be lead agency under SECRA to those interested agencies identified by council to the village board.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Motion to adopt the resolution setting the time and place for public hearing on the proposed local law to establish a water quality protection overlay district.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that concludes our business for this evening. With that, I'm going to go out to the public. Anybody in row 1 would like to get up and say anything? No? Anybody in row 2? That's all right. So I'm going to miss my TV show, but that's fine. I do have it on demand.
What's on for?
I don't know.
With regard to mobility, I thought there was going to be a meeting between our cell expert, our cell phone expert, our cell tower expert, and the village board. Is it still happening, or?
There is a meeting going to be taking place to discuss this.
Okay, that's, I
It's
just
not
wanted to-
exactly the village board, but there'll be our attorney and a member of the village board.
Okay, because I'm a member of the planning board, obviously, you know that. But that's what our concern was, that there was really nothing in our code right now that addressed this type of cell booster. And, you know, although Mr. Costa said that there wouldn't be, he couldn't foresee anything, you know, maybe in 3 years.
Probably
I-
about 3 weeks, but that's besides the
Well,
point.
but he's working for Sprint at this point. What if Verizon wants it, or, you know, T-Mobile or somebody else? So that was my concern. Okay, thank you.
We gotta find another pole to put it on.
Well, we got like, what, 700 polls? so-
Yeah, but to serve that particular area, it's very, let's not get into it.
Get on the pole.
Anybody else in the second row? Anybody at all? You good? Okay. Jess, you have anything? Rob? Nothing. Buddy?
Yeah, just two quick things. I want to thank Rob and the building department for their usual excellent job they did. Highway Department, I'm sorry. During the recent storms, especially having to come out on Christmas morning and plow and salt. Thank you, as always, for keeping our residents safe on the roads. And just offer, again, congratulations to John Hand for doing a perfect score on that civil service exam. And with all the growth we have going on in certain areas of town, code enforcement is one of our utmost concerns. So it's good to have another full-fledged code enforcement agency to assist Gary in keeping everybody on the up and up. So congratulations and thank you.
Neil?
Reiterate the two things that Buddy just said.
Good one.
That's it.
Wow.
Tom? You
Yeah,
wanna-
I want to also thank the Highway Department and the Sewer and Water for the miraculous, I couldn't believe they worked that fast on Sunday when we had a water main break on Cleveland. They came out like the SWAT team. First, the Highway Department was there first. Well, I saw them. I don't know if somebody came by before them, but it was cold, it was yucky, it was everything. They did a great job, and it was there for a long time and give them a lot of credit, because it got colder that day. So I'm sure they did it in a positive spirit and whatnot. So I want to thank you.
And how do you spell yucky?
Yeah, I didn't take that English class.
I, of course, agree with the aforementioned comments with regard to the highway department, you know, and especially what was exhibited was the contrast between our local village roads and the state roads. It was pretty dramatic.
Thank you. Des? Okay, I want to reiterate what Buddy said, also what Neil said, Tom said, and Tim. But again, no, the highway department did a great job. Who was working the backhoe that Sunday? Well, we did lose cable for 3 hours, but well, I would say no.
Of course, I didn't mention that.
The Packers weren't playing, don't
Oh,
worry.
okay, okay.
I didn't care, I was at work.
Yeah, actually, the cable company mismarked the line, so it wasn't really anybody's fault but the guy who marked the line, so. But still, I had no cable. But anyway, no, everybody did a great job, and we're very fortunate in the village. We got great employees, and they do a great job for the residents of Woodbury. I'd like to wish everybody a great and happy New Year, 2018. I hope everybody had a safe holiday, and look forward to the spring coming now. Well, first we'll do the Super Bowl, then we'll do the spring. But anyway, with that, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Before I say it, does Desiree, you have anything?
No.
Pancake breakfast?
Oh, okay.
I asked her, and she said no.
Nothing football related.
I'm going.
Well, you know, the Packers aren't playing anymore, so
Right.
I'm sad. Okay, so on February 4th, which is Super Bowl Sunday, which no one's going to watch the Super Bowl because the Packers aren't playing, but we do have a pancake breakfast that morning that the Woodbury Community Association, the Woodbury Chamber of Commerce, the Woodbury Lions Club, and the Knights of Columbus are joining with the John P. Burke Scholarship Fund to host a community pancake breakfast at the Village Hall. All proceeds are going to go to a town employee who has been diagnosed with a very severe medical diagnosis, and he needs some assistance. ShopRite of Monroe is donating all of the food, so there is almost zero overhead other than maybe some paper supplies. So we ask and encourage all to participate in that. It's from 9 to noon, I believe, at the Village Hall on Super Bowl Sunday, $10 per person. So come on out, eat some pancakes, sausage, eggs, juice, no cheese, because there's no Packers playing. That's all I got.
Okay,
And now I'll second the motion to adjourn.
okay. I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you and good night.
Can you just clarify, are the Packers in the playoffs, Des?
Packers are not playing.
Just curious.
Everyone's upset about it.